Hey guys, welcome to WDWNT Nerd Alert, and this is season 7. I'm your host, Joe Hogarty, and joining me tonight is Jack McCarthy
Howdy, folks.
and Taylor Katcher.
Hey there.
So tonight marks a special occasion for Nerd Alert, as we will now be available on video through WDWNT's entertainment channel.
To blow your mind.
We're still all kind of new to this, so this is a bit of a work in progress. But I specifically wanted to give a shout out and a thank you to Tyler Mann and Jason Diffendahl for having the patience with helping us during this time. And I wanted to say too, for those of you that might not be familiar with Nerd Alert or new to the programming, we started 6 years ago at WDWNT, and our goal was to cover Star Wars and Marvel properties, since Disney owned both of those properties, and we're all kind of huge fans of both the movies and the comic books. So we wanted to kind of bring something together like that, show our love for all this stuff, and basically as much nerdom as we possibly could.
Because we're all about the love.
That's true. Love you guys. Last year we decided that we were going to go weekly, and we wanted to provide more content to listeners, especially during the pandemic, and that's been going pretty good. So we're trying to keep that up, although we've been late this time because we've had a couple of technical issues that we're working through, but this is our first episode. And just a reminder again, although we do cover mostly Star Wars and Marvel, there will be times where we're going to be talking about other companies that are the competition, specifically DC and other comic books or movie companies, because we're nerds about everything, right?
True.
Right, Jack? Aren't you going to say anything?
No, I'm letting you. You're doing very well with the intro and letting people know who we are.
Yeah. So anyway, you'll see us talking a lot about the competition. So what we're going to do tonight is we'll be reviewing the first 2 episodes of WandaVision, and we'll also introduce a new segment called Nerd Alert Show and Tell. And now that we're doing video, you guys will be able to see some of the collectible precious items that we have and see what they look like. We'll also discuss the latest news, and we'll answer some listener email. And I'm going to fool around with sound. I don't know how good this is going to be. You know what? Screw it. Maybe we'll add it in later. It's I got too many things to do on this. All right, let's get into
post-production is an issue.
Yeah. All right, let's get into the news. So last week it was reported that Chris Evans would be returning as Captain America, and both Evans and Marvel were close to reaching some sort of deal. Now Chris Evans is coming out and he says this stuff is all news to him. So this could be either a case of wishful thinking for some people, or it could be that he's kind of just trying to fool with us, and maybe it's still happening, but we don't know for sure.
Or maybe it's not as sure a deal as people think.
Well, yeah, could be. Or maybe he wants more money. You know, who knows? But what do you think? Would you like to see Chris Evans back as Captain America?
Absolutely.
I mean, definitely. I still wish that we gave Sam Wilson a little bit more time carrying the shield. It's almost like we haven't even seen him do it, and we're already talking about recasting Cap. But if we could do some sort of, maybe Captain America through time, putting back the crystals or the stones, as a show, that would be cool. Maybe it's just voiceover.
Could be What If too.
Yeah, What If, right? Or even if it's he has to, even if he comes back as Steve Rogers, head of S.H.I.E.L.D. or something like that, that would be interesting as well, instead of Captain America necessarily.
I don't think he would swipe the shield right away from Sam. I do think they'll give him a little time, to be Captain America. I think if they're going to do anything, it's going to be something, that's not in this time frame. Or like they said, we're not going to see, according to this story, we won't see a Captain America 4. We'll see something where he might join, like what Robert Downey Jr. did with Spider-Man, where he was in Spider-Man Homecoming, and he was also in Civil War. So it might be something similar to that, just kind of like a guest cameo sort of thing. But yeah, I don't think we're quite ready to get Captain America back as Captain America. Maybe he'll be back in some form. I think eventually we'll see him back in Avengers 5 or 6 or whatever.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Did you say anything, Jack? I know you said you were happy if that happens.
No, I mean, Chris Evans, I mean, let's face it, when they first announced him, a lot of people were like, really? The Human Torch? But let's face it, he's done a great job as Captain America. As we've said before, there's a certain earnestness he brings to the character without it getting hokey. So he does a great job on it. It'd be great to see him back.
I was one of them too. Like when they cast him, I said the same thing. The Human Torch. I just did not like an actor playing multiple superheroes. And he wasn't really what I pictured as Captain America, but he bulked up.
He did.
He took his vitamins and he ate his vegetables.
It's called the super soldier serum. That's what happened to him. We saw him in the beginning of that movie, and then they gave him the super soldier serum, and that's what he looks like now.
I was listening to Jay and Silent Bob podcast like a while ago when that movie came out, and Jay actually thought that
yeah, I remember hearing about that.
That was Chris Evans
funny.
Was actually that thin.
Yeah,
and then he bulked up later.
Yeah, so funny.
Oh man. Anyway, yeah, I hope to see him back. Kind of miss him as it is. But yeah, I agree with Taylor. Give Sam Wilson a little bit of time to have the shield.
Well, look at it this way. Even if it is a movie like Avengers 5, it's still going to take 3 years to get done. So Sam Wilson, we could still be looking at 2 or 3 seasons of Sam Wilson.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, especially with all the delays that we've had.
Yeah, exactly. COVID. Everything's in turmoil.
Like Phase 4 really hasn't even started. I don't know what was
Phase 4 started with WandaVision. Phase 4.
We'll get to that. I almost said something. I won't say it.
Best phase, maybe.
We'll see. So Alan Tudyk came out, and this was kind of surprising. He said that he's not in the Andor spinoff on Disney Plus.
Bummer, man.
Yeah, that's too bad.
K2SO is my favorite part of Rogue One.
Yeah, I thought that's what it was going to be. I thought it was going to be Cassian Andor and K2SO. So I don't know what the hell happened. But he said that he could be in it, but right now, the first few episodes, there's no K2SO, which kind of sucks because I don't know. I mean, I like the actor. It was Diego Luna.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't like the character. I think he's kind of boring. I can't see him doing his own show. Yeah, unless they get somebody good to get the best out of him.
Well, it may also be because Andy Tudyk wasn't available. I mean, he has a show coming out on...
Or he's an alien. Looks
TBS,
great.
Where he's an alien in disguise or something.
Yeah, that looks cute.
That does look funny. And it could just be he wasn't available at the start of it, so they'll bring him in as it goes along.
Well, I think that, again, the first couple episodes just don't have him. Maybe they haven't met yet or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, he is a droid that we have to assume that he rebooted or something, right? Because those droids exist mostly for the Empire. So we'll see.
Kevin Feige has confirmed that Deadpool 3 will have an R rating and that Deadpool will indeed be a part of the MCU.
Perfect. That's great. That's what we want.
Sure.
That's what we wanted, right? I mean, best case scenario for people who like the Deadpool series. I like the Deadpool series. I think Deadpool is a little bit overdone, but I think Ryan Reynolds does a fantastic job as the character. I've liked both movies, and I was excited for a third one. And best case scenario is that they connect it without messing up what they got going on, because obviously it works. I'm just very curious to see how they play those two together but separate, right? He's obviously got to be a part of it and stuff like that. So it's great. It sounds fun.
Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of the second one, but it was on sale, recently. I picked it up. It's actually pretty good. I enjoyed it a lot more the second time.
I think the second one, I like the second one more than the first one.
Juggernaut is kind of weird.
He's perfectly like the cartoon.
Actually, I thought
though.
they did a good job with the Juggernaut, in the
Juggernaut.
second one.
Yeah,
I mean,
he
he's
was
better than when he was in X-Men 3,
Absolutely. Really, you couldn't get much worse.
but he looked too CGI to me too.
but he was so perfectly big and bulky and unstoppable that it was I don't know, it felt like the proportions felt right, which was really cool. Given that they usually will try to make him look like a normal person.
And who's that girl? Is it Zazu Beats or something like
Zazie
that?
Beetz.
Yeah, she
Was great as Domino.
I have more of an appreciation for her as Domino after seeing Joker.
Yeah, she was great in Joker too, as well. Just not Joker too, Joker as well. I like her as an actress all over the place. I mean, every time I've seen her, except there was this really bad movie called Slice that had, I think it was Tyler the Creator. No. Anyway, it was supposed to be like a cool, it seemed like an 80s thriller, like era inspired vampire movie that also surrounded pizza, like pizza delivery. And it was just like really bad. Don't see it if you are thinking about it. But
Yeah,
she was in
don't
it
worry.
and she was still great, but it was not good.
Yeah, you kind of wondered though, I mean, how they're going to incorporate Deadpool into the MCU, with the Avengers and possibly Spider-Man. I think Spider-Man and him would be a nice team up since they do that in the comic books.
They're great in the comic books together
they,
too.
they could always just do it that,
And bleep them.
he's in another
right?
part of the country.
Or bleep
Deadpool's
them.
in Chicago. And so far, the MCU, I don't think, has done anything in Chicago. So he could just be running around doing his thing there. And it's just he's never gotten on the radar of Tony Stark and company.
Well, I was thinking more like Taylor, with his foul language, like how they're going to make that friendly and Disney-like happy, for a lot of people, because they want to make him as part of the MCU. But I guess if they're doing an R-rated version, there's no way that's going to be shown on Disney Plus unless they change the way they do things. I wish they would, because we get a lot more Fox movies on there.
Well, I mean, and the fact I still am so curious about how they're going to do Moon Knight with
Yeah.
the PG-13. So maybe they'll end up doing, maybe that's part of this other like Marvel Max, right? Maybe they'll do something similar and have a parental like layer, right? If you put a parental guidance on your Disney Plus account for, the kid, or, then they can't access that content.
That'd be cool. So Charlie Cox is indeed in Spider-Man 3. Apparently he has filmed his scenes. We're not sure if he's Daredevil or if he's just Matt Murdock, defending Peter Parker. Got a feeling he's probably both in this one.
Man, I'm so excited. This movie is getting so crazy. So crazy.
I wonder if this is a lot of red herrings.
What do you mean?
That they this is all just stuff they're kind of throwing out there. And we'll just get like a glimpse of somebody, here comes Charlie Cox walking down the street with a cane and a briefcase.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. He's facing the crowd and you can pick him out as an Easter egg or something. But I don't know. I just don't know. But then again, we have the same thing in the Infinity War and Endgame. We all wondered, with all these characters, how are you going to get them in? And everybody kind of got their own little scene, their own little piece. So who knows?
I did hear that it's possible that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's will just be kind of cameos. But I think that it's gotten so big, they'd be crazy not to have like a huge Spider-Verse story.
I mean, especially with Doctor Strange being somewhere in it, Multiverse of Madness, everything that seems to be the weird direction that WandaVision's taking, all of it seems to be adding up to something that what I think is interesting is Sony, right, almost pulled Spider-Man from the MCU, and now they're adding MCU characters into Spider-Man. Whereas like that seemed like that was never going to be a thing if Sony owned the property the way that they do. So it's really exciting. And the deal must have been kind of crazy because if, let's say, Venom's in it and they're putting Spider-Man into Venom, then that legitimizes the Sony Venom movie into a point where that has to be the MCU Venom, and things are just going to pile on. And it's good for Sony for figuring that out. But it's interesting seeing Charlie Cox in there that really does tie it, and Doctor Strange, I guess, obviously, into the MCU more than just like, oh, yes, this Spider-Man movie is the third one of these Spider-Man movies, and he'll be back in Avengers movies, but it feels less siloed than I thought it would have been given the Sony Disney like disagreements.
Yeah, I thought that Disney was kind of not in the right with this one, like with that whole deal.
Oh, agreed. I agree with you.
Because Sony was making 100%. They were putting in all the money and they were making all the profit. And the last one, Far From Home, made $1 billion. And then Disney's like, whoa, wait a minute. You made that much? We want a piece of that. We need a piece of that pie. So they're like, well, we'll put in some money and maybe we'll get 50%. And Sony's like, no, we're good. We have the money where we can produce it ourselves. And that's what caused the whole problem. But I think they reached some sort of agreement. Maybe it's 25% that Marvel or Disney might be getting now. I still, there's a part of me that wishes that Peter Parker was off on his own, because in those Spider-Man movies, he just was more like, Iron Man Jr. or the Boy Wonder than he was, his own superhero. And I don't like all the tech stuff that he had, that Iron Man or Tony Stark gave him with his suit. He needs to show his spider powers, and he needs to just be Spider-Man on his own.
I don't know, everywhere Spider-Man's at this point in the comic book, or well, not in the comic books, I guess, I'm not sure, but in the video games and in the MCU, he's got all the tech and stuff. Like in the video games, you've got all those different powers. You can send your spiders out.
I know, but they have to do that with video games, though. It's like, look what they do with the Batman video games. I mean, how many different like power-ups you have with like the Arkham games, with like Batman's armor and his gadgets and stuff like that.
So Batman has gadgets. Like, it makes sense more in line. I just feel like the MCU is leading where everyone, I mean, the MCU is now the general public's idea of any of these characters, regardless of what we think, regardless of what comic books say. So if that's the way they think Spider-Man is, then that's the way Spider-Man's going to be in any media that's tied into that or tangentially related that they also want to sell. So we're kind of, if that's not the kind of Spider-Man you like, it's unfortunate, because that's the kind of Spider-Man we're going to get until something drastic changes.
Well, that's what in the comics for a while, in Dan Slott's run, after Secret War, Spider-Man came back and he was the tech guy. He had all these crazy webs like he had in Homecoming. Mm-hmm. He had all sorts of gadgets for, fighting. Who was he trying to take down? He pretty much invaded a country, kind of. And he had like a ton of Iron Man tricks for a while. And I think that lasted maybe a couple of years in the comics. So we've seen that kind of approach in the comics of Spider-Man. Of course, this was an older, more experienced Spider-Man than what he's portrayed in the MCU, but we did have seen that in Spider-Man in the comics.
Yeah, I'm just saying I'm not crazy about it. I'd rather see him highlight his powers, his wall crawling, his swinging. Like, again, I'm a huge fan of the organic webs, because it just makes me nervous when he runs out of web cartridges or his web shooter breaks or something like that. And it makes him more like a spider, to me, because when you think about it, his spider abilities basically are crawling, or sticking to walls and stuff like that. I mean, he's got the strength, but, is that really a huge spider ability?
Well, I think they've shown the agility in the
spider sense.
Well, and the spider sense.
Yeah, the spider
the
sense.
It's called spider sense.
The Peter Tingle.
Peter Tingle.
No. All right, so last story. I know you guys love talking about this. I'm being very sarcastic. Ray Fisher. So
I just don't think.
Let me get to it. Let me get to the story first.
Right. Let it rip.
So Ray Fisher has basically been let go by Warner Brothers. He was supposed to appear in the Flash movie. He currently, or there was an internal investigation that he had requested, because he felt that there was something going on on the set of Justice League with Joss Whedon and Jeff Johns, John Berg, Walter Hamada. And they had the internal investigation, and Warner Brothers or the investigation felt that this is the way that it happened. And he didn't like the results. And he recently, what he did was he released an audio tape of him talking to the internal investigator, which is completely illegal. I don't know what is going to happen to this guy. I mean, first of all, you have to tell a person if you're recording them, and then you're really not even supposed to do that. She probably would have said no. And then you can't release it on Twitter. I mean, he is facing, I don't know about jail time, but I can see him definitely getting sued for what he did. It's just pure stupidity on his part. And my biggest problem is the way that he's handling it. Like, even like with this, what he released the audio, and I listened to the audio, and she basically was just kind of like patting him on the head and saying, she says, "Ray, you've been a gentleman. You've been a gentleman, and I will say you've been a man of your word. And that is what you reported to the company. You're someone that we have found extremely credible, and the fact that you risk so much is part of what leads itself to your credibility." And then she said this, "The facts speak for themselves." Now, if you read that doesn't necessarily mean that she says that Warner Brothers is guilty or the people that are behind it. It's just basically saying you did a good job with how you expressed yourself. We understand, you seem very credible to us, but they could be saying the same thing to Warner Brothers too. It's like, well, we feel like that Joss Whedon and Jeff Johns, they seem to act appropriately. You can't take an audio tape and release it on Twitter. This guy is insane. He's nuts. And I do hope that something happens to him, because you just, there's no excuse for stupidity, basically. All right, Taylor, I know you want to say it.
No, I'm just saying, I don't think we're equipped to have this conversation because we don't have all the facts. We also, there's obviously this has to do with racism and, power different, struggles between, we all understand what happened in the Me Too movement and how, like, it was very hard for those, for the women and the men that were affected by that to speak out on, against these more powerful, people, whether that's, a powerful actor or a powerful director or a powerful producer. And the industry itself, this is just the racism version of that misogyny that was, in the Me Too movement. And we're just, just playing sides.
There were also some people in the Me Too movement. A lot of people were harassed sexually. But
well,
then
of course, they definitely were. What I'm saying,
there were
is
some that weren't too. That actually caused.
It's just
I have to name names.
I just don't think there was anyone that is. There's no reason to speak up unless there was an actual issue.
That? Who's that guy that's kind of a nerd? I think he was on the Nerdist. Chris
Hardwick.
Yeah, that whole thing was very suspect.
Well, that whole thing, but either way, people that are, victims of these things, it's very hard. It only would hurt your career to speak out. It would never benefit you. There's no benefit to speaking out like that. So I just think that Ray Fisher seemed to, based on, he might be, breaking the unspoken rules or whatever exists about how this stuff works and opening himself up to lawsuits, because that's how these powerful people keep everyone in line. But we also don't know what happened. We know Joss Whedon sucks as a person anyway. Like, there's been other different allegations against him previously. So whether Walter Hamada wanted to help make sure that Jeff Johns didn't get sullied in this whole thing because maybe Jeff Johns allowed something to happen, or he was there and he didn't stop it, or whatever happened with the reshoots or all the different, it's all speculation. But I just don't think that, I think you should believe people that are risking literally everything more than their careers to speak out against powers that are impossible to overcome.
But he's not. My problem is that he's acting like a stupid.
That's fine.
Child.
it's fine,
By the
but
way
maybe
he's
there's
doing
no
it.
other way to do
But
it.
there
Maybe
is another way. I mean, if you're not happy with your lawyers, you get new lawyers, or you
I just
get
think that
someone
also
to
you're
back
thinking
you.
about it from like a very, I don't know, I'm throwing around the word privilege is stupid, but the perspective of like he's, there's if it's racism, it's really hard to overcome racism. Like, I don't know. I just think that we're not really equipped to have this conversation in general. So
I'll say, we don't know. I mean, he could be 100% right. Or Warner Brothers could be 100% right. We just don't know. And we might never know. But I personally, and I've said this before, I think his problem was that he was a central character in the Justice League movie. But when Joss Whedon came on board and Warner Brothers wanted to cut that 4-hour movie into 2 hours, the person that they got rid of was Cyborg.
that
Maybe they
there's no way
trimmed
that's
down.
the problem, Joe.
Why is that not a
because
problem?
there's no way that's the problem because he got all of his time back in the Zack Snyder stuff, and all of this allegation stuff came up after that was already a deal that was running. So if he knew that he was getting his role back or more screen time, there's no way it's a screen time issue. Like there's no way that he's making this big huge thing.
Yeah, but he
because
also
was going to be the other main character in Flashpoint.
He might have thought that this was going to be the start of his career, and they screwed him over by not
But they
having
didn't,
it theatrically. Well, you don't know how many people are going to watch this on HBO Max.
It doesn't matter. He was going to be in the Flash movie, so who cares?
Yeah, but
like he knowingly. I'm just saying you're not going to speak up and cause this. It's more of a damaged. The point is, it doesn't. I just feel like we're not the right group of people to even have this conversation because we're just like we're three white guys talking about racism issues.
But we weren't on the set either. It's
exactly.
Like,
but I'm saying
also,
it's very armchair, and I just think that we don't need to. It's
Jack. What do you think?
I'm not going to start. No.
Oh, come on.
No.
All right.
I'm not going to. I've said my piece before what I think.
No,
about the situation, but I'm. He has his issues. It can't be a surprise he was dropped because let's face it, when you talk bad about your boss, there are consequences, and this isn't an issue. It may have sucked on the set. There may have been racist stuff going on, but he came out with it, which is right. That's fine. But if his bosses don't want to keep him around, they don't have to keep him around. So that's all I'm going to say because I've said enough on this show before, and I want to keep everything nice and light and cheery. And once again, nerd alert, we're all about the love.
Yeah, well, we are, but we're also about hearing different sides of things too. And I mean, if it comes out that
you're baiting me, you're baiting. No, I'm not gonna.
All right, that's fine, Jack.
Not gonna jump at it. Nope.
They heard enough from me and Taylor anyway. But I'm just gonna
Taylor
say
had the points too. Absolutely.
If they are guilty, I will apologize to Ray Fisher. Like I said, I just don't like the way he's handling it. I think that he could be handling it a little better, and I'm sure that a lot of people that know him too wish that he wouldn't be handling it the way he's been doing, especially with the audio, leaking the audio stuff. That's just probably not.
I didn't catch that, but
yeah, I'll send it to you.
No, that's okay.
All right. Anyway, all right, let's move on. So,
it's like in the Joker movie, I just don't need it.
All right, let's do Nerd Alert Show and Tell. So you guys got some goody things for Nerd Alert Show and Tell?
Who wants to go first? Me?
Yeah, you.
Yeah, you.
Okay. Well, today to school, I brought my most recent, one of my recent model projects. It is the old MPC Millennium Falcon model that, even though this was bought in probably the 90s, it's the same mold we had seen.
Was it bought in the 90s? I thought you bought it in the 80s, like when it after the movie came out.
80s or 90s. Honestly, I'm not sure because this kit is so old, folks.
How How old is it?
I haven't. How old is it? I started this model 16 years ago. Okay.
So what made you
And
stop?
the reason it's 16 years ago is because my son was born, and my wife said instead of playing around with that hunk of plastic, you'd have the kid to help take care of. So it was put on the shelf for a long time until I started trying to get my son into something besides Legos. So I wanted him to see a very cool model. He also heard stories of when I was younger, how, everybody used to make the models and hang them up from their ceiling. And he was like, wow, I'd really like to have some Star Wars ones. So hence a Star Wars one. Now, this has also kind of gotten a resurgence as well. Here it is. I keep blocking myself with it. This kit, as I said, was molded back in the late 70s. And for a very long time, it was the best Millennium Falcon we got until recently. Bandai has released its version. It's called the Millennium Falcon Perfect Raid, which is completely modeled after the original Star Wars trilogy's Millennium Falcon, complete with only 3 landing gear. Now that's an issue because The Empire Strikes Back, they went from a 5-foot model to I think it's a 3-foot model, but they had to incorporate 4 landing gear because when you built a Millennium Falcon for the actors to work around, 3 legs wasn't secure enough for insurance purposes.
Oh, that's interesting.
So they hence added another landing gear.
So in A New Hope, they only had 3?
In A New Hope, they only had 3 because the actual models of Millennium Falcon you saw were only half of the ship. The rest were done with matte paintings. So that's why from every view in A New Hope, you always see everything from the cockpit view. Okay. So anyway, why did this take so long once they started building again? Well, the model is known for having very poor molding. The top looks okay for the most part, but the side hulls were way too thick and did not have much detail. So a lot of people are now making their own detail kits and selling them on Shapeways. Or a lot of people like myself are also just reworking the detail, making our own greebles, building it up, and doing all sorts of work. And like I said, the kit's seeing a bit of a resurgence because that aforementioned Bandai kit is like $350.
Wow.
This, you can snag one on eBay for probably around 20 or 30.
No way, really?
Yeah, it's not expensive.
Wow.
So a lot of people
I
are
thought that would
getting
be
it.
more expensive.
No, because like I said, it's the same kit that was released over and over again for a number of years. And when it initially came out, it did have lighting. Let me see if I get this open here now. That had little, they called them rice grain incandescent bulbs. Unfortunately, I can't get the bottom open. However, now we
you
have
can't get it to
LEDs.
light?
Well, that's what I'm trying to get. I'm trying to get it open here, but I recently sealed it up and now it's being kind of stubborn. So we're going to have to forego the light. Oh, wait, no, here we go.
Yeah,
So
that lighting looks cool.
using LED and fiber optics, I've lit the engine as well as the cockpit. And I don't know if you could see on camera, but Han Solo was sitting there. I don't have a Chewbacca that looked halfway decent. So that's the Millennium Falcon, my version of it. And like I said, there's kind of a resurgence on the modeling sites where there are a lot of people doing like I did, just getting the kit and building up a lot of detail on it. But it was a great project, a lot of fun. And it also felt good to get back into modeling.
No, you did a great job. I mean, you've been showing us for a while as you've progressed through it, and especially with the LED lighting, it was like, oh man, this guy is so dedicated.
Well, it's also, I mean, there's a ton of reference online. So I downloaded a whole bunch of pictures of the 5-foot New Hope studio model, and I tried to incorporate that as much as I can. For example, even things like the little radar dish. That's the back of it that people know. I also built up the base because this was all plain before.
Oh, you didn't glue that on?
No, I didn't glue it on because I'm in the midst of trying to figure out how I'm going to hang it from a ceiling. But even the front of the dish has all the different spots that the studio model has. There's like little tidbits on here that people like Joe thought I was nuts worrying about.
Yeah.
But the fun in a kit like this is putting detail after detail after detail. I'll do another close-up shot, for example. In this bay, those little stickers are maybe about 2 millimeters by 2 millimeters. And that's where they are positioned on the studio model. I also have, let's see.
I'm just worried this thing's gonna break.
I know.
I know,
I
but
worry how fragile is it?
Hit my camera. No, this is, it's pretty sturdy. But one of those little stickers is on the studio model that says, warning, fastest hunk of junk in the galaxy.
Oh yeah.
And I have to say, after all the work and all the coats of clear coat and all sorts of nonsense, you could still read it when it gets up close. So all sorts of fun things are incorporated off the studio model.
You should add audio to that.
Okay, well, that's a little beyond me right now. Let's see. This is the drive safely sticker that they have on the back of the studio model as well. So little touches like that just made it a fun project.
That's cool. Yeah, you did a great job.
Thank you.
All right, Taylor, what do you got?
Okay, before
Also,
I get to
what are you wearing, by the way?
this is a Back to the Future button-down short sleeve from Roosevelt's. It's cool because these are little hoverboards, and they are the same pattern that I think Marty was wearing. The pattern is the same as one of the button-downs he was wearing in the movie. And then they made it, which I didn't realize until I rewatched Back to the Future like last week, that it was the same, like just the way that they were like little bars, instead of hoverboards in the movie, but it was cool. I just thought it was neat that I was like, man, they really thought about the detail on that. So it was fun. I just figured I'd wear this for our video debut.
That's cool.
Speaking of Back to the Future, is it like an anniversary or something?
It's always an anniversary every year, right? It's another,
Yeah.
another year.
Because
Well,
TBS
30,
is talking
35.
about having it on all week or something like that.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I think it was 35 last year, right? But
Yeah, no, I guess I remember every time they have like a box set, like when it's like the 5-year anniversary, it's 30 anniversary disc set, 35. I meant to ask you, did you ever get the sneakers?
no, because they never made, or if they did, they talked about them, right? They had Doc Brown, all that stuff. I was so bitter. So that was October. It would have been October of 2015, because that was the year the future happened in Back to the Future. And they did really poorly released everything, so scalpers got everything cool. I couldn't even get the Pepsi free, and I was so bittered by that. I haven't had a Pepsi since. So
Really?
I remember
yeah, I was
that.
so angry. I was so angry because I had friends that like worked at some of the ad agencies that were releasing some of this stuff, and the fact that I still wasn't able to, like, they were like, this is what time they say Walmart's gonna like release this, or this is what time that it's supposed to go online on Amazon. I was like, okay, I'm ready, and it still went away so fast that I was like, I couldn't even get a Pepsi, like a special edition Pepsi. They wouldn't let me get. However, because I did have a friend that worked at a different ad agency that was part of USA Today, he sent me the newspaper. So they had on the USA Today, because in the movie, right, that's the paper that showed Marty's your kid's Marty, his kid, getting locked away. And so I actually have the front page because he sent me a copy because he worked there. He got it off the line. He's like, I know that you wanted this and you couldn't get it, so he sent it to me. So I have that framed in my house. Actually, put it in my second bathroom, above the toilet, like you would have a newspaper for like a sports newspaper in a regular like restaurant or something. I thought it was funny to have that. So like as you're going to the bathroom, you could read a fake newspaper about, you know, dehydrated food explosions and them turning what was the match made in time or a match made in whatever the book was that Marty's dad wrote. They said they were adapting it into a movie the second time, you know, like a reboot. Just like really cute. Every article is just really real great and actually has lots of stuff. They're talking about, you know, Jaws, you know, 14 or whatever like that. So
I said this before. Why don't you just buy that Pepsi on eBay?
Because I'm not giving them the satisfaction. Okay, Pepsi did me wrong by making it way too easy for scalpers to take the stuff and overcharge me. So they're just not gonna get my business anymore. And now I used to be a Pepsi guy over Coke, and now you know what? Coke. So
That's ridiculous.
that's what happens. That's what happens when you cross me when it comes to Back to the Future.
All right.
Okay, what am I gonna show? So couple things. So I'll go this and then we'll do something else. So first, two framed comic booky things. One is my it's really hard to see this Superman Unchained, which was a 1 in 60, I think, release for when Superman Unchained comes out, because it was a Jeff Johns drawn, Scott Snyder written Superman.
Jim Lee did.
That's what I meant. Jim Lee, not Jeff Johns. Jim Lee. Yeah, Jim Lee did all the art inside, which usually at this point in time he was so high up that he didn't do inside art anymore. He did covers on occasion and stuff like that. So it was a big deal. And I took it with me to Comic-Con because I was like, well, I planned to run into Scott Snyder. Like that was a goal because I wanted him to sign. No, I already had. Anyway, I wanted him to sign this basically, and I was like, that'd be great, because it's such a cool cover. Well, also Bruce Timm happened to be there at the Comixology booth when I went to San Diego Comic-Con. So I got Bruce Timm, Jim Lee, and Scott Snyder to sign this.
Oh, wow.
I ended up getting, because I happened to accidentally get there early and fall into there was a DC line, and most everyone there wanted to get the signatures because Batman vs Superman was coming out. So Henry Cavill and Bruce Wayne and Ben Affleck and all of them were there, and I got to see they were like 20 feet away, but those tickets went super fast for the people that got to the line earlier than I did. And they're like, well, there's also tickets to like, you know, do a meet and sign with Jim Lee and Grant Morrison. And I was like, yeah, I'll take that one. Thanks. So I ended up getting to meet Jim Lee, which I didn't expect, and Grant Morrison. And that got like all three on the cover. So that's pretty exciting that it's already a 1 in 60.
Zoom that in a little bit. I want to see that some more.
Sorry, just my ring light makes it tough to.
And who did that cover work?
Bruce Timm. So
Timm?
it's it's very Bruce Timmy.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, I like that.
So yeah, and it's the Superman #1 kind of Superman, or the Action Comics #1, but drawn by Bruce Timm. So really exciting to get that signature. And then the other thing I have is a comic book artist that's a friend of mine that also has his own podcast called A Podcast for All Intents and Purposes that I've been on. He drew me this, it says, thanks, Taylor, this Batman that looks like the original Batman with like the gloves and stuff. And his comic book is great. It's called Long John. So I have, it's about a Western, he's like a head of a Western gang, and he wakes up and all of his clothes are gone. All he's got left is his Long Johns. And he but he's like the best gun in the West, and it's really great, and I highly recommend reading it, especially if you like Westerns. But there's 4 volumes of that, but it was just really cool to have this very, he knows I love Batman, so when basically it was one of those things where like I'm supporting him, like I wanted to buy his physical editions because I'd read them digitally, and then he just also included that really cool hand-drawn, it's all ink print of Batman, which was really exciting. So those cool. Those are some of my, from a comic book perspective, coolest things I got.
Very cool.
Yeah.
How about you?
All right, so me. So this one, I don't have too much like these guys do. I don't really collect. I actually had gotten this when I was a little kid. My grandmother picked this up for me. I had a cold or something like that, and she picked it up at this drugstore. and this thing ended up growing in value. So this is Incredible Hulk 181. I know I got it backwards.
Incredible.
And it's actually in pretty damn good condition. There's a little crease on this side here, but you know, it was nice. I mean, I basically got it for free, and I was actually looking around, and it's gone up in value, which was kind of surprised me because I didn't think.
Just a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, it's. Where is it? I'm looking. Sorry. Yeah, no, I remember seeing it going for about $1,200, like maybe 15 years ago or something like that. But recently there was an auction, and for a grade of 9.8, it went for $43,000.
Wow.
This is nowhere near 9.8. I don't know what this is. It's got to be at least in the eights, maybe less than that,
You know what? Out of curiosity, you probably should bring it in to get it graded just to see.
Mhm.
Yeah, maybe I will. I got my camera.
I have
off,
no idea what it
unfortunately.
costs, but
But it's funny because
Grading is annoying, actually.
yeah, but it's a key issue, I mean, it would be nice to know for sure exactly what you've got there.
See in this issue, see over there, like in the right-hand corner there, you got
Mhm.
the Wendigo.
Mm-hmm.
And I was more excited about him because I was like really big into Bigfoot back then. And I could care less about Wolverine. I thought he looked stupid. Like, again, when you look at his costume, it's
had, like, the
drastically
cat-
changed.
Yeah, he had like the weird.
Yeah,
cat.
his style changed.
And back then, his claws were actually part of his costume. They didn't like retract.
Oh.
But
I
he
had-
definitely evolved.
I had Wolverine claws as a kid. It was like it looked like so. It was because I loved the X-Men cartoon, so I had a ton of X-Men stuff, and it was a blue glove that was open on the inside, but you can like latch it
I remember
with like
seeing that.
Velcro, and you can push this up or down to make the claws retract or come down. I used to just wear that thing around in my house when I was a kid. It was so cool. Eventually, it got too big and I couldn't fit in the glove anymore. It was a real bummer.
Well, I would say
They'll poke your eye out.
Yeah.
Wolverine saved the X-Men. He definitely put a new fire under their butts, because prior to that, they were okay. And I guess it was Chris Claremont that kind of really helped bring Wolverine into the focus. Like when he introduced the new X-Men, what was this? Jack, was Colossus, Storm.
Which one?
The new X-Men? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it was also Dave Cochran's design. They brought in Wolverine, Storm. They brought back Cyclops, Jean Grey, and I think they brought back the Angel too, didn't they? When they relaunched it, and they also had Nightcrawler as well.
Nightcrawler, yeah, that's right. Didn't they have the Indian guy too?
Thunderbird for. Didn't he die like this first regular issue?
I don't know. I just remember the cover of them like jumping out of the cover.
Jumping out, all new, all different.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a cool cover. But I was gonna say too, I also got the sequel, that Todd McFarlane drew.
That's tight.
And I was a huge Todd McFarlane fan. And I think the Wendigo was in that one too.
Was he?
I think he might have been. I haven't opened it up. I don't think I'm going to open it up because I know if I open it up, I'm going to rip the damn thing. I'm not that very careful, which I should be. Anywho, all right, let's get on to, I guess, our main topic, which is WandaVision. So I'm curious to hear, and I guess the listeners are too, what you guys thought about it. And so basically tell me what you thought about it, and then you give me a score out of 10. And I guess we'll kind of go through it.
Jack first.
Me first? Okay. I liked it. I can't say I love it yet because I'm not sure what's going on, but that's part of the fun of the show. They keep dropping little clues here and there in it. And even as a long-time comic book reader, I'm not quite sure where they're going to go. But I do love the homages that they do of the old shows. The Dick Van Dyke episode was really good. He even kind of looked like the boss from the Dick Van Dyke show, the
No, he
person on
didn't.
It was
WandaVision.
so well done.
Not.
I remember that guy. There was a guy who looked just like that in all those old.
Yeah, he was in Leave It to
comedies.
Beaver too, and no.
Yeah,
Anyway.
and then the Bewitched episode, which was flat out a Bewitched homage. It was fun, but I was looking for little clues the whole time, because after the first episode, when they had the commercial and everything was still black and white except for like the red flashing dot on the toaster,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, let me start looking out for clues here if they're going to start dropping them in. And I swear I saw a couple of them, but I still don't know enough of what's going on. The commercials are really good. I'm wondering what the deal is with the couple that's in all the commercials.
Yeah, that's the same couple.
It's the same
I thought that was
man and
great.
woman.
Yeah.
There was a point where Vision is in the community watch meeting, and I swear Vision gets slapped on the back, and as the hand's moving, it looked like the fingers were longer with like suction cups or something. It's just a blink of an eye and you'll miss it. But I could have sworn that's what I saw. Even going back and kind of trying to advance freeze frame, you can't freeze frame as well on Disney Pluses.
No, you can't.
You can on DVDs and Blu-rays. But I enjoyed it.
So what score?
And I know Joe is not a fan of her, but I have to say,
Don't spoil it.
Olsen looks a lot better in this one than she did in the movies, I thought.
What score?
My score, this is a flexible score. I would give it maybe right now a 6 out of 10, because I don't quite know where it's going. That score will probably rise once we get a little bit more information, and I'll be like, oh, that's where they put it. So right now I'm saying a flexible 6.
Okay. All right, Taylor.
Did you notice in the Bewitched like opening that was hand drawn, there was the helmet of the Grim Reaper in the top corner? That was really cool because, as you know, in the comics, part of Vision's essence is built from Wonder Man, and he died, and his brother becomes a supervillain against the Avengers, and his name is Grim Reaper. And so he hates Vision because he basically feels like he's part of why Wonder Man died. So that was cool. Catherine Hahn's character, I should probably go over, like, I love it. So in case you didn't understand, Catherine Hahn's character, when she said her anniversary date, that's the date of the Salem witch trials. So awesome, because obviously
she's as you're watching it.
I caught some of it, but no, a lot of it's just like I was like looking up stuff because I like the show so much. But the Dick Van Dyke stuff was incredible. I love that it's such a mystery of what's going on, because it alludes to it. And it's funny because I have so many friends that have reached out and said, what's happening? Why is this show in black and white? Why is this I Love Lucy stuff? And I'm like, well, it's Dick Van Dyke and Bewitched, let's be honest. But I think that it's interesting that so many people don't get the clue that there's obviously something wrong with the fact that Vision's alive in the first place, right? He should be dead. So the fact that he's even alive should give everyone a clue that this isn't real or there's something weird happening. And it's easy to forget because it's been 3 years since Infinity War, and maybe people don't realize this is taking place definitely after. This is like current time. It's just a weird magic shenanigans happening as far as we can tell. And so I think Catherine Hahn's character is amazing. Everything so far is so good. I love everything about what they're doing, the mystery that they're building, the aspect ratio change is always my favorite thing in anything. And when it went from like the full screen into 4:3 in the very beginning, I was like, yes, this is what I'm looking for. And I think that Elizabeth Olsen's acting is so good. She's doing such a good impression of both of the, the actors she's representing, both the one for Bewitched, the one for the Dick Van Dyke Show. I can't remember their names.
Oh, Mary Tyler Moore.
Mary Tyler Moore, and yes, yeah, you guys know, but
Elizabeth Montgomery.
yeah, and I think her outfits too. She looked just like Bewitched, Elizabeth Montgomery, and some of like the pants, and I thought it was so clever to like slowly bring you up to a more recent time and have even the characters confused about why they're there or what their anniversary date is or what's going on, and just the general like standard sitcom goofiness that's happening in the show, like those sitcom problems that superheroes are dealing with is really interesting to me because they're superheroes, right? They are some of the most powerful characters in the entire Marvel universe, and they're like, I can't figure out how to cook dinner for my boss. Like, I think that's so charming. And I think that Paul Bettany is doing a great job playing all those different characters too. And I also read that they got Dick Van Dyke to be he was a consultant for the show because
really?
Yeah, they actually hired Dick Van Dyke to be a consultant because they did it was a live studio audience, so they recorded those 2 episodes just like they did.
Really? That sounded like laugh tracks.
No, it was a real live studio audience. They really recorded it that way, the same way they used to for the Dick Van Dyke Show. And I guess the story is Kevin Feige, they've got Dick Van Dyke there and they're like, yeah, so this is part, and they're explaining the MCU to him. And he's like, oh yeah, this sounds great. And they're like, we just finished Endgame. And he goes, that's nice, and they're like, it's the biggest movie of all time. He goes, oh wow, congratulations. Like he has no idea what the Marvel Cinematic Universe is, but he's like, so important to make the show. I so far the show is a solid 9 out of 10 for me. And it's my most a 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10.
I love it. I just can't wait for another episode. It's easily one of my most thing I look forward to watching the most every week currently.
I don't know. It was great to see Emma Caulfield again as well.
Oh, is that one the lady from That 70s Show?
No, she was on Buffy actually. She was the one with the white hair, the head of the PTA for the children.
What was she in Buffy?
She was Anya.
Anya. Okay. My girlfriend's a huge Anya person, or she's a huge Buffy fan. So because she was like, she looks familiar. What's she from? That makes sense. And then I did like that there was the mom from That 70s Show, though. That was the wife of the boss.
I noticed her.
Well, she's always funny. She's
so funny.
Right.
Yeah. Just great. Anyway, let's Joe, what did you think?
Joe, yes. Did you like
it? I wondered. I can't. I wonder if you did.
I hated both episodes. I thought they were horrible. Yeah, you guys are watching a completely different show than what I'm watching. And it actually, when I saw the trailers, I figured it was going to be a train wreck. So it met my expectations because that's exactly what I thought the show was going to be like. Just real trippy, freaky, going into all these sitcoms, trying to be clever and all that stuff.
I thought they were.
Yeah, it was very clever.
Well, that's the whole thing. Well, I think if you're going to be the Marvel representation on Disney Plus, you better hit a home run with your first episode. You don't give us like crap, weird stuff.
I love weird stuff. I'm tired of the same stuff over and over.
Not everybody does. And it's like, look what they did with The Mandalorian. They got a lot of fans to right off the bat. They loved the first episode and it brought them back. I think they're going to lose a lot of fans after seeing these first 2 episodes. I wouldn't say that one was worse than the other because I think they both sucked. And I'll be honest with you, I thought about this for a while. Like I don't like to give 10s, but I got to give this a 0 for both of them. I'm giving this a complete 0. I totally disagree when you both say that Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany were great in this. I think they're horrible, but I don't think it's their fault. I think it's the script that they have to do. They're trying to, and again, as a fan, I'm more of a fan of Bewitched than I was Dick Van Dyke Show, although I did watch it a lot. I like Mary Tyler Moore.
I've never even seen the Dick Van Dyke Show, and I liked this. I just want to point that out.
Well, that's just it, though. I have seen them, and to me, they were more spoofing, making fun of shows that I enjoyed than they actually were making homages to it. Almost like saying, look at the life that we led back then. It was so lame and people were
They had real problems they were dealing with, but they
where
just
like
didn't.
the wife had to be, stay at home, make the meals, do the dinners and stuff like that, clean the house.
Well, that
And
was the 1950s.
I
Yeah.
know, but it's like I just felt like they were making fun of that lifestyle, but that was a lifestyle that we were used to back then.
They weren't making fun of it. They were showing what it was.
You weren't used
in
to
the
it back then.
shows.
You weren't born yet.
Well,
You're not that old.
Anyway, well, that they did carry on for a little bit longer than just the 50s.
I think, to your point, Joe, I think these first 2 episodes were almost like teasers, that they put these different clues in there. And I think next week we're going to find out a bit more than we found out in the first 2.
Right. And I also
And you
think
had to
that
love the commercial with the Strucker watch. Come on.
Well, let me finish, guys. Again, my
and
point
the
is,
Stark
though,
toaster.
you want to just hit, a home run your first try. You don't want to just hit like a single, or you want to bunt or something like that. And that's what I feel like they did. I disagree with you, Jack. I think I've always said this. I think Elizabeth Olsen was miscast as Scarlet Witch. I hate to say it, I just don't think she's attractive enough to play Wanda. She reminds me too much of her siblings, the Olsen twins, which are kind of creepy in their own right.
Hey, they solve any crime by dinner time, so I don't appreciate the hate.
Yeah, don't underrate them.
And they've ruined, for me, the MCU is kind of messed up Scarlet Witch and Vision. I loved Vision in Age of Ultron. I thought he was really good in that, but then the next time we saw him was in Civil War, and he was just like fawning after Scarlet Witch. And that is not the case in the comics. He should have been portrayed like how
he kind of was.
How Spock was, like in the recent Star Trek series, because he's got
he was
no
fawning
emotion.
after
before
Ahura,
that he
pretty
was
hard though.
Yeah, but she was more attracted to him because he was so different. He wasn't pursuing her. I wouldn't say she was
definitely pursuing her.
Well, I don't know. Well, my point is, though, I just don't like the way they portrayed Vision. That whole thing with the gum, him having the gum and then it screwing up his insides.
That was so cute. He was drunk.
1960s sitcom.
Yeah.
And I understand that this is
Genie. That's Bewitched. That's.
I understand.
I think that what you're upset about, Joe, is that it wasn't an action-packed superhero flick, but that's not the goal of the show. The show was supposed to be like it's supposed to be House of M.
I just think it sucks. I just think that the first 2 episodes are weird. And I understand. I understand that. I mean, if this was a movie, if it was a 2-hour movie and it was weird for the first hour, and then all of a sudden, we found out what was actually going on, and they're like, "Oh, okay. So now I'm going to watch this again, and it'll actually make it better." And I'm hoping that that's the case. I'm hoping that's the case.
That's what I'm thinking, Joe. I'm thinking we're going to see a lot more of these first 2 episodes. Were like to get us like thinking like, let's look for the clues and stuff. But I don't think they can afford to do too slow of a burn on getting it really moving. So I think we're going to see a lot in this week's episode, which would be episode.
Well, I think
3.
what's going to happen. Well, it's going to be the Brady Bunch. This one, I think.
But I think we're going to get more clues this time.
And then it's going to be Married with Children.
No, I just think that you guys are like, I just don't understand how you guys are forgetting the entire concept of a pocket universe in like House of M or No More Mutants or all those things that Scarlet Witch is capable of. And this is for the listeners too, just so you understand what stories they're pulling from to create this. There was a whole storyline where Scarlet Witch, I think Vision dies or her kids die, something weird happens and she loses it. And she just says no more mutants and just obliterates, like they just don't exist anymore, mutants in the entire Marvel universe with a single sentence, 3 words, just no more mutants. Boom, you're gone. And then she creates a whole entire different universe where they don't exist. So
Not
obviously,
okay.
Yes, but like this is still the point where this could be the opposite, where she's going to bring in mutants because of a mental break.
Yeah,
she's still obviously upset about Vision's death. She's creating a world where Vision didn't die, or someone is messing with her in creating this universe to trap her there. But
No, I
That's what
agree.
I think it is.
Yeah.
but we know that, and you're still upset. Like, you know that that's the case, Joe, that is what's happening. I get why an average person who sees this is like, I didn't know about No More Mutants. I didn't know that Wanda's capable of these things, and they don't really remember that Vision's dead, and that, you know, Monica Rambeau would be the age she is now to be an adult, you know, from the actual 1980s in Captain Marvel, or that, you know, they should be looking for clues about you know, Grim Reaper as a character in the cute animated opening of the Bewitched segment. Just, you know, these things, Joe, and you're still mad that they're doing it, when if you was in a comic book you would love it, or you'd be totally in, because you would understand the character's a witch and maybe the most powerful mutant that can create alternate universes with her mind, and she's caught by some other crazy, like, magician person, sorcerer, or doing it herself and losing it, and like things break in the episode and she's like, Vision, save him. And it just like, it was a weird, creepy moment that didn't fit with the rest of the show, and it was awesome. And it was awesome because you're like, like, it's like Twin Peaks, it's like X-Files, it's like all these things, but then it snaps right back into, because they have to fit, you know, because she's starting to see through it, and then it's like, nope, gotta stop anything weird from happening because I'm in my perfect pocket universe. And we've even seen the trailers where it shows there's modern time things happening. So like, I just don't understand why you're so upset when you know that's the case.
I'm not upset. I'm just saying that I just don't like the show.
But it's doing what it said it was going to do.
What I would rather it be is have it take place between Civil War and Endgame, you know, like where you see like how they fell in love. I mean, because we never really saw that. You know, and go on some kind of adventure, you know, like where they have to face off against a villain, where they work as a team or something like that. And to me, this is just weird and boring right now.
Did you not
like
read
I said,
the Vision comics that came out relatively recently called Vision, where like his
no, I
wife,
didn't read. I know
he was a
of
robot
them.
and she
I
like
know of
murders
them.
someone and they're hiding in it. It looks like
That
a
is a
sitcom
great
too.
miniseries. If you
It's
can
so
pick it up, pick it
good.
up.
It's again, it's a weird mystery, like noir.
Maybe it's just not my type, because I thought that was weird too. I mean, when I saw it, I saw the covers and I was like, yeah, I wouldn't be into this crap.
It was so good.
That's a definite pickup. I'm telling you, that is a story that, even if you're not a comic book fan, but you are a science fiction fan, that is just a fascinating comic.
But it's not Scarlet Witch, right? It's
no, it's not Scarlet Witch. It's if you want to look at it from a sci-fi point of view, it's what happens when artificial life starts creating additional artificial life, and how it reacts with the world's regular people. It is fascinating. It's an excellent storyline. I think it's in 2 trade paperbacks now, but it is just a great story. Even if you're not a comic book fan and you don't like superheroes, it's something you should definitely pick up and read. Give it a try, Joe. You'll like it.
I maybe if I read it, I'd appreciate these episodes more. But I'm just saying, to me, I'm just saying, for me, it just, they're both weird episodes.
I scared the dog.
I don't know. Like I said, I hope it gets better. I anticipate that it will, but I just think that there's 6 episodes, and we know that they have at least they're going to do the Brady Bunch and Married with Children.
Do we know that?
Yeah, I think the next one.
Brady Bunch, I think, is next.
Yeah, and then Married
from the
with Children
trailer
is after that.
It looks like the house, only it's flipped.
Yeah,
that's great.
So instead of the stairs coming down from this way, they come down from this way.
Yeah, the house changes every time, and again, like the Catherine Hahn character, she's somebody. She's some Marvel character we don't know. We also know that the woman who was she was like the friend of Wanda, and the one who was like they used in her magic show. We know from like spoilers basically that she is, you know, she's Monica Rambeau.
Is that who she was? I wasn't sure, because they had in the trailer another clip that she says, "I'm Monica Rambeau," and it didn't look like the same woman. So I
think
wasn't
I
sure.
think it is. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong, but at least I'm looking for it. So maybe, I'm just seeing it.
Well, that's actually part of the fun of the show, is looking for these ties and figuring it out.
I guess
But
I'm
like
looking.
the
I'm
reason I
looking as
gave
a
it the
critic.
6, Joe, was because I see your point in some things. I can't figure out enough to know what's going on. There's a lot in there for comic book readers. For example, the symbol that we've seen in the fourth wall of that sword with the circle.
Mhm.
There's an organization called SWORD. It's the interstellar version of SHIELD.
Which we saw in the end of Spider-Man Far From Home, where Nick Fury was on a spaceship with the scrolls. That was
But
Sword.
I don't know if that is SWORD or that's somebody using
Just a
symbol.
reference or whatever. Yeah, we
And
don't know.
I don't know why they would be using Wanda, unless it's an alien aspect, that she's been kidnapped by aliens and doing this. Like I said, I can't figure out what's going on. I like it. I don't love it. Once I know how these pieces all fit together, I'll probably love it.
And I agree with you. If it gets better, I'll change my score. It could get higher than a 0.
Can it?
Can't get any lower. No, but I guess, again, like I said, if this was a 2-hour movie and we got it reveals a lot quicker than we're getting, I think that they're dragging it out for 6 episodes. Who knows? I mean, we might learn a lot tonight because we're recording this Thursday night. When we watch it, when it comes out on Disney Plus, the next episode, there might reveal a lot more than what they did. I mean, I do feel like they revealed more in the second episode, like when, the woman cut herself and there was like you saw the red blood and all that stuff. There's definitely some weird stuff going on. And again, we don't know what's going on. It's like either Wanda is dreaming this or someone is manipulating her mind, or she's like strapped down to a table and she's being drugged and basically being, again, manipulated by some villain to think about this is the life that she now knows, or something like that. We don't know. We don't know what's going on. We'll find out hopefully eventually. I'll be super pissed if on the last episode we're left with more questions than answers.
No, I don't think they do. I think we'll see this whole storyline very neatly wrapped up, because that seems how they do. The MCU hasn't left anything really hanging yet, but I think we'll see everything will make sense. I think the clues, like you said, are going to start coming a little bit more quicker. I think we're going to see a lot more clues in episode 3 than we did 2 versus what we did 1. So I think we're going to get a lot more clues going forward, where we get some inkling of what's going on. I've said my guesses on prior episodes on what I think was going on. I don't think that's happening now, but like I said, I don't know what's going on yet.
Here's an
And I guess
interesting
that's
question.
part of the plan too.
Interesting question for you guys. If they are bringing in the MCU, the mutants, the X-Men with this show, like this is their goal of connecting those universes, or at least alluding to those universes being out there, do we see Quicksilver from the X-Men universe get brought in as her brother, as Quicksilver?
Didn't they? Didn't he sign on to some Disney Plus deal? That guy.
I mean, Evan Peters, maybe.
I
Like
think he
that would
did.
that'd be a cool way to do it.
Is Evan
Because
Peters he's the one that's
he's the one from
Okay.
the other universe, and he's the one who saves Wanda in the comics, right? As Quicksilver saves her from whatever was happening in those storylines where she was like manipulating the
Actually,
universes.
it was his fault.
It was his fault.
It was his
Bastard.
fault.
Was it that she created the new universe to have children, or her children were killed and she created the new universe? I can't remember.
No, she created her children
Mm-hmm.
while they were in the regular MCU, like
Okay.
the same way as Vision was like, how is that possible? How's that happening? Well, that's kind of what happened in the comics as well. It was her creating her children.
Mm-hmm.
and that got all crazy of where they came from and everything. But she had forgotten about them. And then whatever trauma stirred it up, she then remembered the fact that, oh my God, I had kids and I lost them. They're both gone. That's kind of what broke her. But I believe it was Quicksilver he was to blame for No More Mutants and the House of
M.
M.
Which House of M, the wine bottle in the episode where they're with the boss, it's House of M. It's basically says House of M, but in French. It's like Chateau de Monte something, and it's like House of M basically. And just like there's so many cool, like how could you not get excited about all those really cool references? Like the show has so many secret references that it's just fun. And like Jack said, it was Baron von Strucker's watch, and von Strucker's the one who created in the MCU the twins, right? He was the one whose castle they went into Avengers 2. The first one was a Stark toaster oven situation. I don't know. I just think it feels like a love letter to fans of all of these weird things, but in a weird package.
Well,
I think
that's good.
I think as we learn more, we're going to like it more. That's what I think.
Yeah, we'll see. I guess final thoughts on this. I guess that was your final thought.
That was my final thoughts. I'm
Yeah.
excited to watch more because I am into the mystery.
Yeah, I hope it gets better. I mean, it's almost like I have to watch it. It's like homework for me. Otherwise I wouldn't have been watching this. I think I wouldn't have gotten past the first episode. I would have turned it off. But again, that's just me. I was a big fan of Vision and Scarlet Witch in the comics. Not
When's
a
the last
huge-
time you read a Vision and Scarlet Witch comic?
long time ago. I will
Exactly.
admit
They're
that.
different. It's
Yeah.
I feel
But
like it's
I
hard to
enjoyed-
recreate the 70s.
I guess so. But we'll see. Hopefully, I'm hoping that things get better. Hopefully it'll get better tonight. All right.
Because we're also hearing like the radio chatter, right? Coming in throughout the episodes. They're always like,
Yeah, Wanda, who's doing this to you?
Who's doing this to you? Yeah. So
Yeah.
You almost slipped into your 1930s radio voice there, Taylor.
almost I almost introed a new episode of The Legend of Korra there.
Oh, did you hear Tom Kane had a stroke?
Yeah, it's really sad because he's the guy that does that, and he's Yoda.
Yeah, and he can't speak anymore.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's horrible.
It's terrible.
Other
Way to
news
end the
we might
show
wanna
on
talk
that,
about
Joe.
Next week, Joe. Star Wars has launched its whole new era,
I started listening. High Republic.
the High Republic. So we may want to read up on that and talk about that next week.
Okay. All right, let's just get into some listener email and then we'll wrap this one up. So Mary writes, she said, "Hey Joe, I enjoyed your review with Taylor for the movie Soul and Wonder Woman 1984. But she wants to know what you think, Jack, and she wants to know if we changed our opinion like after watching it maybe multiple times." Taylor and I.
Well, I liked Soul. I thought it was very interesting. It's once again one of those like higher concept Pixar movies like Inside Out that while it looks on the surface it could be strictly a kids movie, there's a lot of stuff in there to really think about. I enjoyed it. I liked it a lot. I liked the different soulscapes, for lack of a word, where the pre-souls are trying to find their purpose before they jump off the cloud and come down to Earth. I thought that was interesting. I thought the whole part of souls that have lost their way or lost their dream, I thought that was, in respect as it is, kind of frightening. But it's something to think about, the way that they did it and in the context of the story. So I really liked it. However, the one thing about it is, even though I liked it, I probably wouldn't watch it again. I don't think it has the rewatchability of some of Pixar's other things. Like the Toy Stories, you could watch multiple times. I love The Incredibles every time I watch it. This just didn't have that appeal to me. But like I said, it was very good. It was beautiful. You can't doubt Pixar's ability to turn out just a beautiful landscape, a setting, an environment. It was just beautiful. Even the, I guess you could call them angels that were the bosses that kept popping up, sort of like a two-dimensional cartoon character that would flip around. I thought those were very interesting designs. I liked it, but like I said, it's not something I would rewatch. I would give it, I'd probably give it a 7.5 to an 8. And like I said, it got knocked down a notch because I don't think it has the rewatchability of some of the other stuff that Pixar's put out. But I liked it. I thought it was very good.
What about Wonder Woman?
Wonder Woman was, I thought it was pretty good. I didn't think it was as good as the first one. And I think the problem that they had with that movie, once again, is the villain. Cheetah, I thought Kristen Wiig, despite Joe's protests, I think she's great. I enjoyed her on Saturday Night Live. I enjoyed her in her more serious parts, like the Skeleton Twins. I think she's great. Fantastic character actor. I think she did very good job as the Cheetah. However, Max Lord was not how I would have thought Max Lord would have been portrayed. I always picture Max Lord more like the Purple Man on Jessica Jones, how he's manipulative and scheming versus a used car salesman, which is how he came across to me. So, like I said, I think that hurt the movie. But Gal Gadot, she is Wonder Woman. She is terrific. She plays that character with, similar to, like I said earlier in the show, Chris Evans. There's an earnestness to her, an honesty, a goodness without getting hokey. So I think she's just terrific as Wonder Woman. But yeah, I mean, that, I guess I'd probably give that also, I don't know, around a 7 as well.
It's too high.
Huh?
That's too high for that one.
I agree. That's
no, I
that's
mean, there was a lot of cool things in it. I mean, I really enjoyed the part of the beginning was terrific when she's
I think
in
we
the
can all
mall.
agree on that one.
well, we all loved them all. Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked the whole concept of what do you call it? That wish stone, the Philosopher's Stone, is that the right artifact I'm thinking from
No,
DC?
that's from Harry Potter.
Mm-hmm.
No, the Philosopher's Stone is also in DC, and it pops up every so often and causes a world of hurt. But that item, when they were trying to figure out what it is and everything, I thought that was an interesting part. And like I said, I loved Kristen Wiig's transformation from the goofy bookworm into, you know, let's face it, hot, sexy woman walking around town with all the confidence in the world. I mean, there's no doubt she could have pulled that off anyway. She's great. And actually, I hope we see more of the Cheetah.
Me too. I'm with you there.
And as Taylor and I talked about before, she still has the powers of Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
Because she made her wish before Max Lord made his. And Max Lord canceled his wish out, but her wish is still active. She doesn't look like a cat anymore, but she still has all of Wonder Woman's powers that she wished for herself. So that's something to keep in mind for the next Wonder Woman.
Well, we've seen this a lot, like in other movies, like where, you know, like the nerdy person becomes like powerful, like Electro
Electro, Poison Ivy,
And Catwoman.
Aiden, the guy from Iron Man 3, happened to him
Oh yeah,
too.
yeah.
Yeah, Catwoman. It's just like it's the weirdest comic book movie trope that there's like the bad guy is a nerdy person somehow wronged by the superhero.
I wish they
But
would have
she
handled
didn't
her
go as far as
character.
Jamie Foxx with Magneto.
What's that?
She didn't go as far into that
No.
nerdy character. She went enough that you got it. She was a bookworm. She was nerdy. And here it is. We're on a nerdy show talking about this, but she wasn't that over exaggerated.
You're right. It was closer to what Poison Ivy kind of did, but almost like a more realized version.
I guess my point is I wish her origin story would have been different than what they did.
I don't even remember her origin in the comics.
Yeah,
Taylor, you're a DC guy.
I don't really either.
They have a couple, right? Depends on if you're looking at the one who looks more like a woman and the one looks more like a cat. But I know that some of it is she was obsessed with cheetahs and she was like a Jane Goodall kind of character in like one of them, and then the other one was she was, she found some stone and it turned her into a cheetah, I think, if I remember correctly. But
So it might not be
pretty
so
close. Yeah.
Yeah. Bottom line though, yeah, Taylor, did your opinions change on those movies?
I think I've liked Soul a little more and Wonder Woman a little less the more I think about both of them. I think we talked about our problems pretty heavily in that episode, and I think that they're all still real valid. And the only thing I've liked that's come out of Wonder Woman, thinking about it later, Wonder Woman 84, is the Pedro Pascal meme, where it's like something is good, but it can be better. As Maxwell Lord. Yeah, exactly. This is good. It could be better. I think that's very funny, and I like that meme format a lot. So I think that's a positive. And I also appreciate that, like, this movie bombed, but everything is just moving along. Like, no one's career was harmed in this film. And I think that's great. I think that it seems like it's a hiccup, but I'm excited to see where everyone goes from here.
Yeah, I mean the one person that I will say remains unscathed from all this is Gal Gadot. I think she still did a good job with what she had. She wasn't the problem with the movie. It was just the story. And
everything, once that Dreamstone was involved, just got real messy.
Yeah. And for me, Soul, I didn't like the afterlife part. I would have liked it if it just focused on the human world, like in the main character and his love for jazz, wanting to be a professional musician, and also having to juggle the whole thing with teaching his students and maybe falling in love and stuff like that. But I do want to watch it some more. I watched it twice. It's a Pixar movie. They always look good. And it's starting to grow on me a little bit more. It's just like Inside Out. I wasn't a huge fan of that, but starting to grow. It's not like my favorites. Like, man, when I got my 4K TV, I watched Monsters Inc. so many times. Just ridiculous. That thing looks so good. Like the hair on Sully's arms or all over his body just is so detailed and colorful. Yeah, and it's a great story. It's such a fun damn story. And yeah. I wish Pixar would go back to that instead of getting so metaphysical with Inside Out and Soul. Let's just do some fun stuff, like where the whole family can enjoy it, like, again, I don't think kids would really like Soul that much, where, something like with Toy Story, Monsters Inc., even Brave, where kids and parents could somewhat enjoy all that stuff together. That's it.
Oh, do I have time to tell a funny D&D story?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, well, you just brought it to mind when we talked about Monsters Inc. I've been DMing for fans. I've been DMing a campaign to teach my son and his friends how to play Dungeons and Dragons. So I threw at them a lesser beholder. Now, beholder is basically a floating ball with a big eye a mouthful of teeth, and these stalks with other eyes, and they shoot all sort of effects out. So out of the way things were rolling, somehow, while the mage of the group is having a conversation with the beholder, my son decides, well, I'm going to shoot it. So I'm like, well, you know, I'm like, well, you can always try. And of course, he rolls a natural 20. So he hits it in the eye, dead center.
Nice.
The monster starts screaming, and they all start calling him Mike Wazowski
Perfect.
in their ways of talking about it. So what comes after is the most insane thing I've ever seen a group of players do. The mage that was currently talking to the beholder decides he wants its eye. So I'm like, well, you can always, I'm like, as the DM, you can always try to grab it by the eye. He rolls, and he rolls a natural 20. So I'm like, okay, well, you got your hands in around the eye. You're hugging it by the eye, and it's screaming at you. The warrior of the group, instead of hitting the monster, decides to go over, grab it from behind, and pull it in the opposite direction.
That makes
So they
sense.
try. So they're like, I'm gonna like, I got Mike Wazowski. Now this is, mind you, a Boy Scout as well. I got Mike Wazowski's eye, and I'm gonna pull it out. So the mage has got the eye in his hands. The other guy, the barbarian warrior, is pulling it from behind. Another one reaches in while it's screaming and grabs its tongue and is pulling by its tongue. My son, after shooting it, jumps on top of it and starts pulling it by the eyeballs, by the eye stalks. And I'm like, are you guys serious? Does anybody like just want to hit it with a sword or a spell? That's the game? They're like, no, we got it. We got it under control. So they wrestle it to the ground, and the creature shrieks, mercy. Because all I'm picturing is Mike Wazowski being ripped apart. The monster screams, mercy. All of them let go of the creature, and then for the next 45 minutes have a debate whether they should kill it or not. That they should show this evil monster mercy because they were torturing it, put it out of its misery, or let it go. And I couldn't believe that for 45 minutes, these kids had such a lively debate, literally standing up around the dining room table, screaming at each other about whether or not this monster deserved to live, including statements like, you don't know his life. So that's, I'm telling you, it was hysterical. And I'm just, after the night was over, they all went home, and I'm just sitting there laughing because I'm like, so Patrick is like, well, what's so funny? I'm like, you guys, you don't understand how hysterical you are watching you play this game. And it was just very funny.
Well, I think you had to be there.
Maybe you had to be there. I'm sorry. But if you're a Dungeons and Dragons player and you're picturing this scene of these goofballs trying to DI Mike Wazowski, it was pretty funny. So
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sounds great, honestly. Like that's the kind of I tend to play RPGs that are not quite as in a box as D&D is, kind of, but it's cool that you are obviously allowing them to be a lot more kind of in the moment with their campaign, because I feel like D&D sometimes can be a little too rigid for that kind of shenanigans that I would like to get into.
Shenanigans, basically, you're right.
And I just think that I would watch that animated series,
They are a lot of fun to watch them play this game, and it's hysterical because I remember back in the day, me and my group, we used to get into these crazy arguments as well. And you'd flip sides, change sides at the drop of a hat as you're arguing. And it's just was so funny to watch them doing the same thing.
And I was bored back then too.
And you were bored back then too, Joe.
All right, let's wrap this one up. So Jack, can you tell everyone where they can find you?
You can find me at jack@WDWNT. Please send me some mail and I will respond to your comic book questions and heck, whatever you want to write
It's
about.
WDWNT.com. And are you sure it's not Jack M?
Maybe it's Jack M.
We'll try both.
Well, Joe, you set it up. It forwards to my regular email. So,
All right. And Taylor?
You can find me online at TCatch. That's TK4TCH on Twitter. And then I think it's TCatch without a 4 on PlayStation and Nintendo, and with a 4 on Xbox. Just, Leet Speak is when I made these gamer tags back in the day and these handles. So, forgive me for showing my age, I guess. And or you can email me at taylor@wdwnt.com. At least I think that's true as well. There could be a K in there, but I'm pretty sure there's not. Reach out. I'd love to talk about stuff.
in post-production, we should put our email addresses in each window.
Yeah, maybe that's a good idea.
It's a work in progress, folks.
Yeah, this is all a work in progress. Speaking of that, you can email me at joe@wdwnt.com, and that is correct.
It's not Joe H?
No, it's not.
Okay.
Or you can send me a friend request on Facebook too. Also, if you like our show and enjoy other WDWNT podcasts and would like to become a Patreon supporter, please visit WDWNT's Patreon page at www.patreon.com/WDWNT. And check out.
But make sure you mention Nerd Alert is your favorite show on the network.
Yeah, that definitely would help us. And check out Walt Disney World News Today, as well as Universal Parks News Today for all your Disney and Universal news. And also, please visit the carousel of products where there is a ton of fun WDWNT merchandise on sale. And I need to get the discount code on that. Pretty sure there probably is one. Finally, please subscribe to the WDWNT Entertainment channel, where you can find Nerd Alert and other WDWNT original programming available there.
On YouTube. It's on YouTube.
On YouTube. Yeah, thank you for mentioning that, Taylor.
And if you act now, we'll send you this complimentary bottle of super glue.
Oh. All right. So with that, this will be the end of WDWNT Nerd Alert Season 7, Episode 1. So until next time, see ya.
Good night, all.
See you later.